Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very 13th episode of Cool Down Timer. I am one of your hosts, Neefu, and today with me I have Zingles Artman.
I'm gonna punch a wizard.
And again joining us from the scary frozen wastelands of Alaska, Mr. H.
I don't have a catchphrase yet.
Okay, so Mr. H, we've been talking recently, and it seems like you have had a slight issue with what Zam was saying the other day about his feelings for nerds.
What's your problem, man? You always start the episode off with a problem about something I said.
Yeah, what's your problem, man? Actually, I don't have much of a problem. I'm more of an issue, because ever since he mentioned how he doesn't like being called a nerd, I've been starting to feel it.
Right?
And that's not something I'm used to feeling.
Nerd hate.
But I'm starting to be like, you know what? Some of these people are kind of awful.
I know. And I mean, like, it's not the group as a whole. Well, it kind of is. I'm not going to even go there.
I don't know. I know I definitely feel that way about that certain vocal minority of gamers that are just all like, all about the hate. I don't dig the hate.
Wow, could you get any more hippie-ish? Take off the rose-colored glasses.
No, and that's the thing, because I mean, I acknowledge that people have emotions and are often very irrationally driven individuals, and sometimes that's okay, but I don't know. Respect each other, man. Respect each other.
I don't know. Because if you looked at the things that I enjoy, you would say that I was a nerd. I play D&D. I play a lot of video games. I like that kind of stuff. I read comics a decent amount. I don't actually identify with that group of people. There are very few people that identify themselves as nerds that I actually get along with.
I have to come to grips with the fact that by the definition of hipster, I am a hipster. Which, what's the definition? It's someone who adopts something into their identity that should not be a part of their identity and should not really be a part of anybody's identity in contemporary society. And often it is done to make a point or something along those lines. And while the majority of hipsters look like the lumberjacks and the coal and oil miners from forever ago, I have a cheese grater dangling from my rearview mirror.
I don't know, because like, I give hipsters a hard time because they're funny. Everyone gives them a hard time. They get the worst rap, but are they really worse than like nerds and stuff? Because the nerds say the stupidest things.
The thing is, how many self-described hipsters do you know? People who call themselves hipsters.
Mainly just the people sitting in this recording room.
Well, this has been something that I don't think I think this is one of the first couple times. This is within the first couple times that I have actually come to grips with
we've
the
had
fact
some.
that
You and I have had some talks about it, and I mean, I've kind of realized that I tend that way a little bit more too. Just because, I mean...
Oh, and I definitely have... The first time I kind of caught on to the fact that I might be a hipster is when I started hearing people saying, oh yeah, the hipsters, they all go like... They all think that they're cooler than you because they knew about this thing months and months and years ago, and I do that. And, okay, with Battlestar Galactica, everybody has finally been getting into Battlestar Galactica. Finally. And that was my big thing in like from 03 to 09
I
when
loved it
aired.
when it wasn't cool.
I loved it while it was airing. And so all these people are like, oh, Battlestar Galactica is the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I was like, I knew that 10 years ago.
Does Battlestar Galactica's sliced bread have the corners cut off?
Inside reference.
Yeah.
This is good. Feeling it. But what I mean is, my point was that nowadays nerd is kind of a title people claim, you know? I'm a nerd. I'm such a nerd. Mm-hmm. I'm totally a nerd. But hipster isn't something most people really want to claim. It's something that is given to you.
Do you blame them? They get so much crap.
Gosh. I'm being a hipster in claiming hipster as a term that I...
Well, the thing is, in that respect, there's a lot of overlap between nerdy people and hipsters.
It's true, which is why I'm starting to identify more as a hipster than a nerd.
But
Which
let's
is
see,
so
I've seen you guys
unhipster-like.
dress. You still hipsters if you can't really afford better clothes? No, I'm just
You gotta you gotta describe the visual picture for the audience at home.
He's far away. He can't describe a
No,
visual
I mean like
picture.
the
Well, the
visual
thing
picture
is,
that he has
like,
in his
Zam,
mind.
you don't really look much like a hipster at all. Do you dress kind of practically?
I look more like a hipster right now
But,
than Neefu does.
Neefu's always not exactly. Neefu's always had his own style, haven't you, Neefu?
Possibly.
You like hats,
do
headwear
like hats.
of some kind. You got the long, curly, crazy hair. That's just you, you know?
You need a top
A
knot.
top knot would be kind of hipster.
Ooh. No.
That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I know, right? What better way to adopt a hairstyle of someone that I could never be than a sumo wrestler?
They'd have to make a new weight class for you.
Than to adopt the hair of a sumo wrestler. There we go. That's the only
Hey
thing I
guys,
can-
hey guys. How many hipsters does it take to screw in a light
You
bulb?
tried saying that last was that earlier?
Last week.
Okay, yeah.
How many hipsters does it take to screw in a light bulb?
I don't know, tell me.
It's a really vague number. You've probably never heard of it. Anyway, moving on.
That's funny.
How did the hipster burn his mouth?
How?
He drank his coffee before it was cool.
Oh, that one's pretty good.
Oh, that's
So
funny.
speaking of hipster things, which
Wait, I got one. Why are hipsters good at spelunking?
Why?
Because they were into caves while they were still underground.
So speaking of being hipsters
hipster
and
jokes?
snobby and all that stuff, which Legend of Zelda game was your favorite?
You know, we came up with this question beforehand, and I was originally the one to say, we're all going to say Ocarina of Time. I'm probably going to say A Link to the Past.
You know, that was a fun
I
one.
spent more time on A Link to the Past.
I still never finished that one.
I have some really fond memories of that game.
Yeah. I don't know. I think my at least like fondest memories were actually of Wind Waker.
I played Wind Waker on the smallest, most destroyed and broken TV, where everything was bright red for some reason.
That game should be bright green and bright blue, not bright red.
I know, it was terrible.
But
best
that was the
memories.
first one that I actually put the time into to finish.
I feel like gameplay-wise, that one was probably one of the better ones. That one definitely tried to do some different things.
And I mean, as we've talked about in the past, it's also the one that's probably going to have the like the best longevity
Yeah.
with regard to its visual
Yeah,
style.
definitely.
Definitely.
I don't know. I just
I never got very far into that one, though. I've actually been wanting to replay it recently.
well, if you get a Wii U, they've recently re-released it in HD with brand new bloom and lighting effects.
I had a Wii U before it was cool. No, I hate the Wii U.
Why?
I don't really even like the Wii. It just doesn't seem necessary to me.
Oh, you're probably one of those people that says that Nintendo should get out of the hardware game and just focus on making games for other consoles, aren't you?
I don't care.
Just look at the Wii, alright? Imagine when the Wii first came out. Family gathering, let's say Thanksgiving, right? Normally, a video game console would be secreted away in some basement or something for all the guys to sneak off to when they could get a chance and wouldn't be missed. But you put a Wii in there, suddenly everybody is playing Wii bowling. Even your grandma.
Yep, my grandma has a Wii.
And it's all because of the interface. I mean,
Yep.
hardware.
No, the Wii
and
did.
that's-
But does the Wii U have that interface anymore? I don't know much about it.
What the Wii did was it tapped into the casual gamer market that hadn't really been appealed to
Just a good
before by a
move.
console. However, the casual gamer audience is also not one that really cares about graphical updates or any
Just a
you have to
It
give
doesn't
them
matter.
something extra special. We when I was back in school, one of the classes that I did, the final project for it was to do an analysis of the current status of a company. One of the people did it on Nintendo. And it was actually funny because they had so many of their details really, really wrong. They were like saying that you could take the Wii U gamepad out of the house and take it along with you. And I was like, no, that's not right. But I was like, okay, I'm not going to say anything. However, I was like, okay, I'm going to ask a hard question because I actually have some knowledge of this stuff. So I was like, do you know if Nintendo is... Oh, shoot, what was it? It was basically asking if Nintendo was going to do something to try to appeal to the casual audience that made the first Wii so successful, to try to get them to be interested in the Wii U. And there were two people who were doing the project. There was a guy and a girl, and the guy just starts giving this really long-winded explanation that absolutely said absolutely nothing.
I know what you mean.
And then I was like, that doesn't quite answer the question. Let me see if I can rephrase it. So I tried to rephrase it, and he was kind of silent, and he looked at her, and she looked at him, and she looked at me, and she's like, no, we have no idea.
Speaking of long-winded explanations, Zam, the Wii U basically is a Wii. It's just got an extra controller that does different things.
I disagree.
I know, but essentially,
here's
it's still
the point.
the same
Here's the
setup,
point.
so with one different
I
controller.
have a really good computer and Steam. I don't care about consoles very much.
Says the man who got all giddy about the fact that they just got a Link Between Worlds.
Hey.
I don't care about Nintendo. Give me my Legend of Zelda Link Between Worlds.
Okay, I got 3DS to play Pokemon. And...
Ooh, I don't care about Nintendo. Give me my Pokemans.
I never said I don't care about Nintendo. I love Nintendo. I'll always have a soft spot for Nintendo. And A Link Between Worlds takes place into the in the A Link Between... The echo is killing me.
World.
All right. And A Link Between Worlds takes place in the Link to the Past world, which I didn't actually know about beforehand.
Oh, yeah.
And I got all happy when I was like, oh, this is where this happened. And oh my goodness, this is still here. Is it a direct sequel? Is it supposed to be a direct sequel to that Link?
I don't know if it's supposed to be a direct sequel to that Link, but it's obviously supposed to be in that world.
Well, because like the very first shot is like Link and then Ganon and then like a flash of light and then you wake up in your bed.
So it could be considered
I'm
a direct
wondering
sequel to A Link to the Past.
If there's something more. I don't know. I honestly know nothing about it. I like going into a video game not knowing much about it, so I don't get preconceived notions about it.
Yeah, and that's why I like to play games that I actually care about as soon as they've come out, so that I don't get like major things spoiled or I don't know, things like that. But the Wii U is in HD. It has the gamepad, which allows for a couple different ways of playing with the game. You can actually have 5-player multiplayer, if I remember correctly, where you have 4 people using Wii U controller. Wow, 4 people using
they
Wii
could actually have their own
controllers,
screens, though, huh?
and then 1 person using the gamepad.
Right.
But the gamepad has like a 4-hour battery
And
life.
it's got some interesting applications to it. That you can't really do with many other game systems, but it's kind of gimmicky.
Oh, it's absolutely
Wii was
gimmicky.
kinda
But then again, the
gimmicky.
Wii was gimmicky too, and that became either the best-selling or the second best-selling console, whichever one it was not was the PS2.
The nice thing about it, I mean, it definitely is for the casual gamer. And it's honestly like we have one, and it's really nice to just like, let's just go
gamers, because we're so hipster, and we're the better gamers. We're the hardcore gamers.
Who do you think I am? A freaking casual?
Oh, God. What was it? It was... I was watching the Destructoid show a couple months back before it got canceled and then sort of revived. Max and Tara were talking about something, and she called Wolfenstein, and he kind of turns to her and he's like, "You casual gamer." Made me very happy.
It actually reminds me of something. One of the blogs I read, this guy talks about it occasionally, but it's basically the concept that can be very hard for people, I guess, to understand. But the fact that video games are hard. They are very hard if you did not grow up with video games. We have spent so many hundreds of hours getting better at video games and understanding how they work. And so when someone who never picked
Better
it
in
up
very
gets
large
in,
quotes.
it's it can be hard to understand how freaking hard it is.
Well, I mean, even going from like never playing a first-person shooter to playing your first first-person shooter, like okay, and so like my fiance, she'd even played first-person shooters, but she'd only played them on consoles, and she'd only played like Halo. Well, I got her Skyrim the other day, and she got in, and it was weird for her. Well, this is besides all the graphics that needed to be adjusted and stuff because computers are more complicated.
The resolution.
But anyway, and I mean, she was having trouble with it when she first got in because she wasn't used to it.
And I've heard one of the big criticisms of games as a easily approachable medium that I've heard is actually the controller, because if you are unfamiliar to that thing, there are so many buttons and the sticks.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, and I mean, like, really, when you think about it, the analog stick, that's such a terrible control system. I mean, it's so small. You can do so little with it, I feel like. I'm obviously not a console gamer.
No, you are not.
I hate analog sticks.
I don't know. I am definitely more comfortable with mouse and keyboard because that's what I have spent a large majority of my time with.
Yeah, and it's just we take a lot of things for granted.
Definitely.
Like if you take someone who's never played an FPS before and put them behind an FPS, regardless of whether it's on a computer or console, probably one of the first things they're going to do is walk into a wall and...
No, you don't press the arrow keys. You press W, A, S, and D.
Know. I remember the first time I ever heard about WASD. It was on RuneScape.
Oh, gosh.
And I'd never... Like, I grew up without video games, as I think we've mentioned a couple times.
It, yeah.
And so I this was by a point that I think I had a GameCube. So this was a little later on. I'd still never really played anything on the computer except for like Age of Empires, which is like a point and click pretty much. And I went over to my cousin's house and he was showing me RuneScape. Yeah, not Rune Factory, RuneScape. And he was telling me about it. So I was like, oh, this is awesome. And he let me make a character on it. And then I put my hand on the arrow keys because that seemed like the right idea at the time. And he was like, no, you got to use these keys. And I'm like,
crazy fool.
Why those keys? That doesn't make any sense. And I had a real hard time remembering those keys. And I mean, it wasn't just like knowing how to walk. It was having trouble remembering what key did what thing. So I had to not only think about what key did what thing, but, you know, just every little piece of it. It was really difficult. And also recently I transferred over to a new keyboard. It's this little circular gaming keyboard.
It's just got half the keyboard.
Yeah,
on
it's just it's got everything in a really ergonomic, nice positioning for your hand.
Ergonomic in very large quotes.
Yeah,
I think I've said that like 3 times today.
But anyway, and when I first got into it, I couldn't do anything because all the keys were in slightly different positions. So I kept clicking like E instead of W and like all this stuff, or I would reach too far for one of the keys and stuff like that. And it took me, and I ended up having to just go sit in this area in a game for like an hour and just shoot crap and be like, all right, I can do this now. And after that, I probably like I got a lot better in the games I was playing because I could then program my keys to these new buttons and stuff, and I could get to them easier and quicker than ever before.
I think the very first game that I had to use WASD for was Star Wars Dark Forces 2 Jedi Knight. I got it at Walmart for like $6, and I think that was one of the first, if not the first, PC game that I really like got that wasn't a part of one of those like packs of like 10 games you get when you buy a pre-built computer from like just a random company. Because, well, I used to play Hyperman and what was it, Cyberia or
Math
Descent?
Blaster.
Math Blaster. Edutainment games. Yay.
What was the Super Muncher where you'd like munch facts? You ever play that game?
I don't think I ever played that.
All right, you guys remember Typing of the Dead?
Yes.
Oh yeah, they've re-released that on Steam with
Multiplayer.
competitive cooperative multiplayer.
Now you must suffer as Q did. Or was it M?
I think it was Q.
Yes.
I think it was cute.
I just love that they actually had keyboards in front of them to fire guns in the game. That was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
So since
go ahead.
So since we've been on and off the topic of hipsters today, what do you think is the most overrated video game of all time? Of all time.
Overrated. I think we can all agree on this, so it won't be very good for conversation. But I'm gonna say Halo. Actually, I'm changing my mind to one that's better discussed. Angry Birds.
That's
okay. We're talking about overrated, not Angry Birds. Candy Crush.
okay. Are we going into apps, or are we sticking with?
They are games.
I know they are games. But at this point, I could say that Fate is the most overrated game of all time.
We are talking about video games, not tabletop games.
Okay, because I do think that Halo is really overrated.
Then argue for it. Stand your ground and argue for it.
I don't know if I can pick a favorite, and by that I mean a least favorite. Favorite, least favorite.
Okay, at this point, I think I'm going to stand with Candy Crush because that game is just bejeweled with free-to-play. It's bejeweled with microtransactions.
That's kind of how I feel about Angry Birds, because it is a game that has been done before many times, and then suddenly everyone's like, this is the coolest, most crazy thing ever, and I play it, and I'm like...
Yeah, and they're selling merchandise for it. Like, you see it everywhere.
They have
it's
a
not
cartoon TV show.
Really?
Yes.
Gosh. Well, and it's not like they're selling some merchandise on their website. You see it at Walmart.
Yep.
Yeah, everywhere. And when I finally played it, I'm like,
though, I mean,
this
good
is
on
what
them for
everyone's
creating the
crazy
game.
About?
I applaud
I've played this game many times in many forms.
Yeah. Oh, there was one I played where you were like in a shopping cart.
Kitten Cannon?
Well, no, that was more one of the distance type games where, yeah. So you were on the top of a hill with a shopping cart, and then you would like, as you got better and got more money, you could like unlock upgrades like rocket boosters and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was fun.
Okay,
and
so
stupid.
I'm just gonna stick with Halo for now because I that one has always frustrated me. Because I didn't get to play it for a long time, and I'd played the multiplayer and it was kind of fun and stuff. But I mean, the multiplayer isn't really anything super special.
But at the time,
that's true.
When you think about at the time, nobody
what are we
had
at
really
now?
done
4, Halo 4, and then Reach, and then Wars. There's been like
and ODST
6. I don't know, however many there's been.
That's like talking in Final Fantasies. Final Fantasy 15 is actually Final Fantasy 27, something like that.
Okay, so no, the point is though is that maybe at 1 it was something special.
Well, again, it was at the time it did something for social gaming that hadn't really been done before. I mean, people like had Halo parties.
Really?
Oh, I had Halo parties.
Listen,
that hadn't been done in
if
console gaming
I had to say anything
before.
that the first Halo was innovative about, it was about having just 2 weapons at a time.
2 weapons
and
at a time
cover-based
wasn't until
with the recharging
Halo.
shields.
And does it
Wasn't
have
it?
cover-based mechanics?
And it does not have cover-based mechanics. That's Gears of War.
I say cover-based because of the recharging shield.
Oh, okay.
Before that, if it was an FPS, you had health packs. You had a
That is
health bar. In Halo, it's, okay, I'm broken. I gotta find cover now.
That's
I
an interesting way
gotta
of looking at that.
hide until my shield's recharged. That was the new thing about Halo.
Well, I'm not saying that it was a new thing. I'm just saying that like it hit at the right time and had the right type of multiplayer to bring multiplayer video games into the social sphere in a way that it hadn't been done before in console gaming.
But as I was saying,
Add enough classifiers and it becomes unique.
We're at Halo whatever now, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're finally done with it.
No, they're not.
They're not? I thought they were done with it.
Bungie was done with it.
They're
Now
never gonna be
343 is
done
doing
with
it.
it.
Oh,
That's
okay.
like,
Well, Bungie got out of it,
And now they're making Destiny.
which I'm okay with. They're doing something new. That's fine. Video game companies are known to do that from time to time, except for Square Enix. Anyway, we'll complain about them later. But no, but they haven't really changed their model a whole lot since then. I've heard the gameplay as far as the actual game has gotten better. I have no proof, but that's what I've heard.
Or Halo?
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, there are people that is their thing,
I know.
and that is okay.
No, it's not. No, I'm just kidding.
I think I get ruffled about the idea of it changing social playing with FPS a bit because I was doing that long before Halo with the original Call of
On
Duty.
PC.
And it's relative long.
Yeah, here's the thing.
On PC.
PC is better.
PC is different.
LAN parties. all the
PC has
time.
its advantages.
Join the PC Master Gaming Race. Is that what you always say?
PC Gaming Master Race. It's something that was jacked from Yahtzee and then taken with and run. Taken with
It's a
and
good
run with?
concept.
Taken and run with? I don't know.
Whatever. Make it
should
work.
be
Actually, I
edited
gotta
out.
look this up now.
Heart
Did the
knuckles.
original Call of Duty come out? What time did it come out compared to Halo?
You have a computer in front of you. Mine just went into sleep mode.
No, like that's what I was saying. Like it did something for console gaming, and we know that you hate console gaming.
Me?
No, Mr. H.
Because I don't actually hate it. I just give it a hard time.
I'm fine when it sticks to what it's good at. And FPSs are not what it's good at.
That is a matter of opinion.
Well,
I think it's pretty good opinion. The fact that Halo was so revolutionary shows you how thin and empty FPS field was for the
Again,
console.
Halo was revolutionary in the fact that it made for console gaming multiplayer where you're sitting down with your homies, you bring your Xbox over to your friend's house, y'all get a couple TVs.
one thing I gotta say is it's a lot easier to move a console to a LAN-ish
It is
party than
incredibly
a computer to a LAN party. Do you remember
significantly
LAN
easier.
parties?
Well, just think about it this way, all right? The first FPS, obviously, was a PC game. It was Wolfenstein,
Wolfenstein.
followed by, Doom, and a bunch of stuff like that. And Quake, those were all innovations in the team. At the same time, in the console world, you had platformers mostly and side-scrollers. And that's consoles much better at platformers and side-scrollers than a computer. Way better.
Yeah, probably. I'd say that.
Okay.
I don't know what the first console FPS was, but it wasn't until long after PC had plowed the field, so to speak.
Well, okay, first of all, they didn't add the analog sticks, which were really... the first big console FPS that I can think of that was like, everybody was... Okay, I'm... GoldenEye.
Yes, that was the first big one. That's what everyone agrees about. Nintendo 64, GoldenEye.
Oh, I hated the controller on this N64. I tried
It
playing
looked like a freaking spaceship.
GoldenEye recently, and the controls are horrible because there's no second analog stick to control where you're looking.
How do you control where you're looking?
It auto-aims.
Oh.
But then again, I guess that's probably what you had to do with Doom, the original Doom as well.
Really?
I think so.
That stuff was all before I was playing video games.
Yeah.
And the whole point is, consoles, there's a lot of FPSs on them today, but they really are not as well suited to FPSs as the PC is.
That is a matter of opinion. But then again, opinions make discussions interesting. A lot of the FPS, FPSs have been coming out on consoles for so long now that they have gotten pretty good.
Well, the thing is, though, here's the thing, though.
Are well suited. There we go.
It's what you learn on. Because, I've never played console games, and I play PC games, and there are a million people that could kill me in any first-person shooter. Well, me on my computer. Yeah. And, I mean, it's what you're used to and what you play on.
Yeah.
That really matters. Now, the one thing that computers definitely do better than console is RTS. That does not work well.
Oh no,
on console.
that is one that.
Not saying it can't be done. It's just easier to do on a computer.
But
well, I mean, you don't have the mouse.
But that's what the
doesn't
Steam
work as well.
controller is supposed to try to address.
Really?
Because instead of 2 analog sticks, it has 2 trackpads.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's one of the, when I first saw it, it was just like, oh, that's wait a second.
That could be interesting.
That could. I'm really excited to check it out.
Yeah.
When they become available. The thing that I would say that PC gaming does absolutely hands down 100% unequivocally at this point in time better than consoles is providing gamers with the opportunity to play a large variety of games for a very small amount of money.
Oh, definitely.
Because of like the Steam sales.
Yeah. We all just experienced the Steam sale.
I think you should just say that Steam does that.
Yeah, but you don't have Steam on
Not even
console, so
platform.
no. And I mean, even Origin. I mean,
Origin, GOG.
yeah, and all of those things. There's a lot of ways to get video games for cheaper on PC, and I mean, like.
And it used to be the opposite.
Yeah.
It used to be if you walked into a store looking for PC games of $100, you could hope to maybe get 2 games.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I walked into GameStop and they were like, "Oh, we don't carry PC games anymore." I was like, "What?" Okay, fine.
Should be called Game Pass By, because that's not where we go to shop.
I'm sure that's where your fiance got a link between worlds.
Oh no, she did get it from GameStop. No, I always go into GameStop and look around.
GameStop is one of those stores that has a very specific smell. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Best Buy as well.
I can just smell it.
I know, right? You can just smell the GameStop smell.
Kind of smells like this mic. Smell your mic.
That was
new technology.
Anyway, nowhere near the smell of GameStop.
But yeah, no, I always go into GameStop and look around, and I mean, well, and I've got a 3DS, so I like to go look at what's happening.
What's the buzz? Tell me what's happening. What's the buzz?
I went into the weirdest GameStop a while back. It was hooked up to a Barnes and Noble, which I was like, okay, that's cool. And it was a really big Barnes and Noble. And so I was like, all right, let's go check out the GameStop. We go in there. Biggest GameStop I've ever seen. This thing was huge. It was 3 or 4 times larger than your just average GameStop.
So about the size of an average normal store.
Yeah. But here's the thing. There was just as much stuff in it as a normal size GameStop. So it was just against the walls
space.
and the middle was open. Except for this one like 2-foot long shelf in the very center with all the used Wii games. And I was like, what the there's just so much. I just don't. I was like uncomfortable. It was like you were just like walking this giant open room. There was an echo in this darn store. It was huge and weird. And I always felt uncomfortable.
But you're not. It's not
Anyway.
GameStop unless you're rubbing up
GameStop.
against people awkwardly as you try to get
No,
through
and
the
then
aisles.
GameStop bought Impulse in order to try to get back into PC gaming because they were like, "Whoops-a-daisy."
We didn't know you guys would, that whole thing would catch on so well. No, I ended up just going back into the Barnes and Nobles. I enjoy Barnes and Nobles.
I
enjoy
enjoy
books.
I don't think there's an
Borders
S at the end
more,
of Noble.
but
Borders is dead.
God,
Rip Borders. Long live.
so many
I don't
happy
know.
memories.
For me, like bookstores are such a fun place to hang out. Like I don't ever really buy much there.
Yeah.
You're the reason that Borders is dead now.
You buy much there?
I don't buy books.
I know exactly. You're the reason that Borders is dead. Don't
My
blame
lack
this on
of
me.
visual mind is the reason that Borders is dead.
So on the visual mindness, have there been any? Well, so this wouldn't be a big thing for you then, because like for me, like having a real visual mind, having a book translated into a movie, there's been some really good and bad ones.
Well, I mean, okay, so as an he rephrased the question in a weird way. The question, the main question is,
Best and worst book adaptations.
book to movie adaptations. Okay, so if we're talking best and worst book adaptations, freaking Game of Thrones, man. If we're not going movies, we are going like all media. Game of Thrones.
I would
That is one of the
agree
best.
with you. Oh, and I mean, he works.
But then again, I've
with
only
them.
read half the first book because I don't read. But that's an awesome friggin' TV series.
George R. R. Martin works with the crew on the TV show, though.
He writes at least one episode.
So obviously that's going to be a good adaptation. They obviously do care
That
about it.
doesn't mean anything.
I think it would.
Robert Kirkman works with the people on The Walking Dead, and that show is still a piece of crap.
You know, it's interesting. I just wrote a blog post recently about adaptations, and
ThePageNebula.wordpress.com.
and I can't say really that this is the best one. I might think of one that's better, but the one that's most impressive to me is Lord of the Rings. Just because how hard a book that is to adapt and how good the final product was.
I'd say that that's a good one also.
A lot of people would disagree with you. I am entirely
I
indifferent.
know. I know. I have met them.
What do people say about that? Because I've never really gotten into one of those arguments with people.
The people who have the biggest problems with it are usually the worst nitpickers, and I know because I am one. I'm less now than I was, but like, do you guys remember the movie Holes that was based off of the book Holes? That was a really accurate adaptation, and I hated it because I nitpicked every little thing that wasn't the same. Every little thing they changed, and most people I talk to are very much like that. Like, why don't we have the scoring of the Shire? And I'm thinking in my head, because the movie has too many endings as it is, and it would take an hour to do properly.
Yeah, no, I didn't even like that in the book. I was like, I remember when I was reading the book and I was like 13 and just being like, doo. Oh, they've destroyed the ring. Why are there 100 pages left? Okay, so I've kind of come to the conclusion recently that there are several different types of book to movie adaptations. You have some that are trying to make a good movie based off of a book, and then you have the ones that are like trying to make like a visual guide to the book.
Yeah,
where it's like the Harry Potter movies. I don't think that. I think that they put in a lot of references, and now obviously I've never seen them as someone who hasn't read the books.
I did.
So
I watched 1 through 6.
Right.
Having read
and
the
what
books.
did you think?
5 and 6 made no sense whatsoever.
Right. Well, and like what they do is they try to put in a reference to every little thing, but to you it doesn't make sense. But to us, we're like, oh, that's supposed to be that. But then we go,
Oh, I've read them now.
I know.
I actually read the series.
I'm just saying, but I'm saying, but like for us, we say, oh, there's this little thing saying this did happen, and then we remember the rest of it. But someone who hasn't read the books, you know, they're just lost. It was the same way with the first Hunger Games for me. Like I was like,
Really?
yes.
I thought, okay, but
Did
then
you
again,
read the first Hunger Games
I
beforehand?
had read it beforehand, so I had walked into it with that knowledge. But I don't know. I thought it. I mean, again, but I walked in as a reader saying, "Oh yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense."
Okay, well, I don't remember much about it, but remember the little girl who dies?
Okay, I did not like how they killed her.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like
did not kill
that.
her
They
well.
were like, and this
it was
happened,
pretty important in the book.
because it happened in the book, so they had to do it.
What are you referring to? Like the death or
Just the way she died and
Okay,
all
yeah.
that happened, and like in the
Yeah,
book,
and you
it's
have a lot of
really
time.
sad.
Oh, it's incredibly sad.
Because you
feel
care
it.
for that character, but in the movie it's just like this happens. So they're like trying to please the fans by putting in a little bit of everything, but they're also trying to make a decent movie by, I don't know, they just,
And
I hate it.
I think if you actually look at the Harry Potter movies, you can see how the different directors had a totally different approach on the different movies. For example, Christopher Columbus, who did the first two, was much more interested in doing an accurate scene for scene like reproduction of it. And so the movies end up being very accurate story-wise, but they fall crazy flat with regard to character and emotion, which is what Alfonso Cuarón in the third one did. He focused on the emotion and the mood and the tone and just like the character stuff, but kind of sloths. I don't know if that's a real word or not, but kind of sloops on the more accurate story stuff. And that one's actually my girlfriend's least favorite of the movies.
And you know what, Zam? You said there were the two different kinds of movies, and I think we totally agree with you. Because there are the movies that are just really made for the people who read the books, and the ones that are trying to adapt it and make it cool, like Neefu said with the Harry Potter movies. But there's a third type of adaptation.
And what is that?
And that's the one where they neither care about being accurate to the book or telling a good story, but just want to cash in on a popular book series. And I think I know what movie I'm talking about.
Aragon.
Oh, good God. We all know. I was so excited because I was young and naive.
Yeah.
That was
I
so
saw
bad.
it
I
coming.
read the first like 200, 300 pages, and I don't know.
Oh, when I was really young, I actually did enjoy that, though.
was-
Well, I liked the first and second book, and then the third and fourth book sucked.
I couldn't get into it because I kept imagining Obi-Wan Kenobi and Luke Skywalker.
See, I read it before I really knew much about Star Wars.
If you walk into that with anything any kind of knowledge of the basic plot of the first Star Wars movie, it's Star Wars.
Well,
I
you know,
disagree.
Yes, he was 15. I don't care. The book's still trash.
No, what I'm saying is that he shouldn't have been able to. No, he normally wouldn't have been able to write a book like that. But his parents had a publishing company.
Exactly.
So it probably shouldn't have happened.
But I have to disagree about the Star Wars things. You could not find a bigger Star Wars fan when I first ran to Aragon, and it didn't even occur to me reading it. Because that's an old trope. It's not just Star Wars.
That is
Hero's
true.
Journey. That's why I don't watch many Hero's Journey movies.
But here's what I feel about Aragon as a book series. The first book was kind of clumsy, but it got you there. And then the second book was much better. And the third or fourth book, he's still developing, but it probably wasn't the direction most of his readers wanted.
Are there 4? Yeah, there were 4. That's right. It was originally supposed to be a trilogy.
Yep, and then the third one ended up being too large.
Yeah. And I really like all of them. The ending kind of was a downer, but endings are hard, especially when you have so much
especially when you don't know where you're
momentum.
going, because he obviously didn't.
Breaking Bad stuck the ending.
We can
And they
complain about
didn't know
that,
where
but
they
I
were
think a
going
lot
as
of
they
us,
made it
if
up.
we were telling a story, we wouldn't know which way we were
I watched
going.
this little documentary the other day
But
about
the movie
a
was just
person
plain
named
garbage.
Walter White.
Yep, there have been. Sorry, say again.
A little documentary about a person named Walter White who was a meth cook.
Yep, there have been a couple. Like there was a guy who recently was arrested a couple weeks back who was arrested for meth stuff. Yay, meth and Breaking Bad. And on that wonderfully crystal blue note,
Crystal blue, breaking into song.
I think it's about time to wrap things up for this week. If you would like to hear more of our episodes, you can do so at www.cooldownttimer.com or on iTunes or Stitcher or on...
If you're a real hipster, you've been listening to us since episode 1.
No, do not go back and listen to those early episodes. They are bad.
Go back and listen to them.
We're definitely figuring this out as we go.
You can also follow us on YouTube and Facebook at Cool Down Timer Podcast and on Twitter at Cool Down Timer.
Timer.
We'll tell them about that later. You can follow me at Neefu on YouTube or at Straight Up Neefu on YouTube or on Facebook and Twitter. And then you can follow Zingles Artman here at Twitter at Zingles Artman, though he does nothing with it. Or on Facebook, you still have to search for Zingles Artman. He doesn't have the URL. I'm gonna go fix that for you now.
Okay.
It should be up normally. And then you can follow or find the things that Mr. H here does at the page nebula.wordpress.com.
Yes.
Yeah, got it. And you can also email us at cooldowntimer.com. Lots of ways to contact us, so there's no excuse. Contact us.
Question of the week?
Yeah, well, okay, we can do questions of the week. We can make this a consistent thing.
What's your favorite and least favorite book to movie adaptation?
Sounds good. Let us know at any of these social media sites, and if you have any questions you'd like us to discuss on the air, feel free to message us.
Or Netflix movie, because we are going to try to watch Tai Chi Hero soon, the sequel to Tai Chi Zero, and talk about that. Maybe we'll include Mr. H, who will not know anything about Tai Chi Zero. Let's do a Skype call.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for listening. We appreciate you. And we hope you're having a fantastic beginning of 2014.
Stay classy, San Diego.
Stay classy.
Do you even know what that's from?
I think it's from Anchorman.
It's from Anchorman.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen them.
Stay classy, planet Earth.
All right.
Coming from him, he's the least classy guy in the world.